Okay, welcome back to video number 8. Here we are going to log into WordPress. So before we do that, you want to make sure that you have already gone through the setup to connect your domain to your blog. And we did that in the very first video. Remember, you go over to site settings, you complete the custom domain setup wizard, and Show It will assign you some codes that you input into your DNS settings like GoDaddy or Bluehost or Google Domains. You'll get that all connected and you apply for your SSL certificate. It's really easy. You just message Show It and say, hey, I need my SSL certificate. They'll get that set up for you. Then you will just publish your site or leave it as is, up to you. And then you will be able to log in to your WordPress site. So you're just going to go to yourdomain.com and then you're going to do /wp-admin. So /wp-admin, just like this. So it'll be, www.yoursite.com /wp-admin, and you will get to this page. And you are going to use the same login information that you use to log in to Show It to get into the back end of WordPress. So I'm going to do that real quick and get into a test account so I can show you the next steps. Okay, so we're in a test account. When you log in, it's going to look something like this, very similar. The first thing that I want you to do is go over to the left-hand side on your dashboard and you're going to click on Pages. Now, if you're choosing to utilize the podcast page inside of your template, you need to add that page here. All you're going to do is go to Add New and you're going to type in podcast. Make sure you spell it right, unlike me. You're going to type in podcast and that's it. You're just going to hit Publish. It's going to be like, are you sure you're ready to publish? And you're going to just hit publish. The reason that we have to do this is because on the Show It side, we have a custom template called podcast, and we need to make sure that that is set up properly in the WordPress backend so that your content is displaying properly. So custom template name, it's going to say page podcast. So if you are calling your podcast something else, if you're calling it, my show or something like that, it would be page-my-show, and on the back end you would instead of putting in podcast, you would say my show, but to keep it simple, just keep it as podcast. If you're choosing to utilize this page, all you have to do is put the title right there and publish it. So that's our podcast page. Now we want to go in and add our categories. So we're going to go back, click on this little W, and under pages you will see, and sorry, not under pages, under posts, you'll see this little pop-out menu and you want to click on categories. Now, there's a ton of categories in here right now. This is a test blog account, so please ignore all of this. Yours will probably be blank. But we want to go ahead and add podcast as a new category. So we're just going to type it in up here and we're going to hit add new category. Great, so now we can see it appears here. Oop, I misspelled it, so let's edit that real quick. Okay, that's been updated. We'll go back to categories. So if we're continuing on with the example from earlier, maybe we want to say weddings is another category. This may already be in here, but I'm going to go ahead and add it as a new category. Perfect. Now we have weddings. Your template includes 3 in the site design. So if you go over to the main blog page, you'll see category name, category name, category name. Here you're going to input podcast, input the second category that you want to add, and the third. If you want to add even more, you are welcome to, but I suggest starting off with 3. And remember, categories are pretty broad topics. So like podcast, that's a pretty broad one. Weddings is pretty broad. You can do a third category for whatever you want. So maybe like behind the scenes or business tips or something like that. Once you have added your categories in your page, it is time to make your first post. Before we get into actually writing out your blog post, the one thing I really want you to do is go into plugins here, and you want to activate Yoast SEO. So it might already be here. If not, you can go to plugins and add new and search Yoast from this list here. But it will pull up here once you install it. So you'll go to plugins, you'll select Yoast, you will hit activate. Mine's already activated, so where this says deactivate, yours will say activate, and it will bring you to here. So you want to do the first time SEO configuration, and this is going to help you so much with writing your blog posts. So you'll click on here, And then you'll just go through and it's going to ask you a couple questions about your site, what you want it to be called, your social profiles. That's pretty much it. You'll just go through this little setup wizard, and then you will have this really cool SEO tool on all of your blog posts, and I will show you how to use it once we get to the end of creating our first post. So let's go there now. First, we're going to either go to post, and then you can see all your posts, or you can add new, or you can go up to this new button up here and click post. So you can see that this is the Yoast SEO kind of like walkthrough, and we are just going to close that right now, and I will talk about that at the end. Right now I just want to focus on getting our content in here. So first we're going to add a title. For this, if it's easier for you to write your blog posts in something like Google Docs or Word, or even if you write them by hand, whatever works best for you. Some people choose to write them in a separate application and then copy and paste everything in. That's totally fine, or you can write natively inside of WordPress. It's really up to you. Okay, so I quickly have just put in a title here. We're just going to go with best show it templates for this example. Then you'll want to choose a block, and normally this is going to be like a paragraph, so you can just start typing. We're going to put in some filler copy here, and then you'll add another block, and this can be a paragraph, another paragraph, a heading. You can add images, a spacer if you want to have like a gap or almost like a page break. There's lots of options here, but mainly you're gonna probably stick to paragraph, header, and image, these top three here. So for heading, this is automatically going to apply the H2 style, which if you remember, if you go back to show it in your design settings, that is going to be this right here, whatever you set as your H2 heading. So we'll go back here, we'll add a heading, we'll say Sahara, show it template. Perfect. And then we would type in some more content here. We definitely would want to add another paragraph and say, we love this template and hope you do too. Awesome. Okay, now it's time to add an image to your post. You don't have to add images if you don't want to, but if you do, you'll click on this little plus button. You also can find it up here at the top, and you will add an image. And you're going to upload an image, insert it from a URL, or use your media library. Now, your media library inside of WordPress is different from Show It. It's completely separate. So if you want to use images that you've already used inside of Show It, you will have to upload them again. So this is the test media library. I am going to choose this image right here, and I am just going to hit select. So that is going to pop the image right into my post. I can adjust the size a little bit if I want to. I can add a caption, do whatever I need to do to make it look nice. And then I can add another photo if I want to. But I'm going to say that this is the best blog post we've ever written, and we are finished with it. So we have our title, we have a paragraph, we've got our heading here, so our subheading, and then a little bit more paragraph and an image. Those are kind of like the main elements. Now we are going to work on some of the post settings. So we're going to go up here to this tab where it says post, and we are going to tag this as a category. So you usually only want to tag one category. For this, I'm going to do our podcast tag. Perfect. And then I can also use tags. This kind of helps with search engine optimization as well, and just kind of searching on the blog. So let's say best templates is a tag, or actually let's just say show it is a tag. I would say templates. I would say Sahara. I would add 10 to 15 of these tags. Whatever is relevant to your blog post, you're going to add as a tag. Then you're going to set the featured image, and this image is what is going to appear next to the title inside of your post. So this image is what's called the featured image. So featured image, category, title. Same thing on the podcast page. If you scroll down to where that populates, it's this image here. It can be the same image that you used inside of your blog post, or it can be a completely different image. So it's totally up to you. You hit set featured image, it's going to bring up the media library. I'm going to just use this one for consistency here. And then you can write an excerpt. Now this is optional, but it is kind of encouraged. You just want to write almost like a meta description of what this post is about. Now we can go up to preview, and I'm actually going to preview this in a new tab. That way we can see how it will look. And this is how it will look when someone clicks into the blog post. If we want to see how it's going to look inside of the podcast page where it shows the list of the different posts to choose from, we will have to publish the post. So we'll go here, back, and we'll hit publish, publish, and then view post. Now, if we go to the actual podcast page, like we talked about before, so podcast, this is the page that we set up inside the WordPress backend. It's going to load our template, and then you can see down here that this is where the 3 most recent podcast pages will load. When I click into here, it's going to bring us right back to our single post. So it's pretty simple, but after you follow those steps, you'll be good to go. Now, if we go back to WordPress, let's talk about that post in regards to the Yoast SEO. So going down here, we'll pull this open. Yoast. Okay, so here is where we are going to kind of blog with SEO in mind. So first, we're going to set our focus key phrase. So this post is about the best show it template. So that will be our key phrase. So best show it templates. Great. Okay. And we'll go down here. We can see kind of our title, how it's previewing as the mobile and the desktop result inside of Google. Great. We're going to leave this SEO title alone and leave the slug alone. Now we're going to write the meta description. So this is really similar to when we were talking about SEO earlier in one of the training videos about page SEO and image SEO. This one is very similar. You're going to want to use natural language, but also try to include keywords. So I'm going to come up with an example real quick. Okay, so I have roundup of some of the best show it templates for small business owners. You can see this bar down here is orange, and that's telling us that it just wants this meta description to be a little bit longer and take up more space right here. So roundup of some of the best show it templates for small business owners, including the Sahara template from Daydream. Okay. You can see that now we have this green bar, which is great. That means that our meta description is long enough. If I were to keep typing, you'll see that eventually it will turn red again, telling us that our meta description is going to be cut off, and anything past that will be unreadable. So just keep that in mind as you're writing this. You'll notice that I included our focus key phrase, and I included some keywords like small business owners, and then of course the name of the business and the template. You'll adjust this to your blog post. Now we get on the SEO analysis section. In this, I like to think of it as like a red light, green light system. So it's very straightforward. It tells you what you did good, what you can improve, and where you really need to put some of your time and energy. So let's start off with the things Yoast is telling us we did good. So we have an image in our post, which is great. Our key phrase is in the SEO title. So our key phrase is just best show it templates. That happens to be our title. But if we were to make this title longer, so like best show it templates for small businesses in 2023. Let's say that's our full title. Our key phrase is still going to be in there, and that is great. Going down here, we have our key phrase length is good. It's not too long. We already know that our meta description length is good because we got this green bar up here. We haven't used this key phrase before, and that's really good because you don't want to always have the same key phrase, because eventually your blog posts will start to compete with each other. So if you are a wedding photographer, for example, you don't always want to use the key phrase wedding photographer. You want to kind of like, I think of it as casting your net a little bit broader. So maybe you would use Atlanta photographer. Maybe you would use romantic wedding photographer. Maybe you would use documentary style photography. Maybe you would use, engagement sessions as your keyword. So you want to mix it up a little bit and apply that to whatever industry you are in. And then our key phrase is in the slug. We'll talk about the slug real quick. So right now we have a red bar on our slug, and that's just because our title is a bit longer and we're choosing to include the title, the page that it's on, a separator, and the site title in our slug. I wouldn't worry about this too much. As long as this slug right here is small enough, it's totally fine. You can take out some things if you want to. For example, you could take out the actual page that it's on, or the site title and probably get that down, but it's totally up to you. So we're good there. Image key phrase. So when we added this image, you had the option to add alt text to it, and this is very similar to the SEO we did inside the actual Show It page. Same thing, so we're going to describe what's in this image. If I were to put best Show It template inside here, we would probably turn that light green, which we did. Great. So what we need to improve, obviously our text length, if this was a real post, we would want to make it more than 16 words and have about 300 or more words. We use our key phrase in our subheading. That's really important, but it's telling us you want to use more. You want to have more subheadings where you're using your key phrase. So maybe I would say like best neutral style or best editorial template. And it would be like the Sahara Show It template. And then maybe if I had a different template, it would be best boho style Show It template or something like that. So it's just telling us to use more headings in our post. Next is our key phrase in the introduction. If we wrote a real introduction besides this, we probably would turn that green. So let's say here is our roundup of the best Show It templates in 2023. You can see when we did that, we turn that light green. The next two, outbound and internal links, those are really easy to do. So basically you just want to link to something that is not hosted on your own site, and you want to link to something that is hosted on your own website. So this could be things like linking to your contact page, linking to another blog post. Maybe you wrote something similar. This could be linking to, the podcast page. If this blog post is not for podcast, and it's just a regular blog post, you could mention, hey, I talk about this topic on my podcast as well. So lots of different ways you can link to your own site. And then external links, you can even link to your Instagram, a Facebook page. If you maybe are working in collaboration with someone else, you can link to their website or someone else's social media. So get creative with that. Those are pretty easy to solve. So you always want to prioritize readability over turning all of these lights green. It's very hard to turn all of them green. Sometimes you'll go to change one thing and say, you add the text length, and then you accidentally turn something else red by turning something else green. So sometimes that happens. You always want to prioritize writing for a real person over, worrying about the SEO. But if you can get the majority of these to be green, you will get a little green smiley face on your SEO analysis, and it feels really good. You can feel confident that you've done a good job writing for SEO and writing for a user, and feel free to go ahead and publish. So that is how to use Yoast. That is how to write a blog post. That is how to make sure that it's showing up on the podcast page. Now, we also want to talk about the regular blog page because you have different categories. Let's go back to that on the page, and I will just give you a run through. So we have the blog page. It's going to populate here. You have your different categories. So you'll put in podcast and then come up with 2 other categories. Now, this post at the very top is what's called a featured post. And you can choose what post populates there. So I'll show you what that looks like here. Okay, so you can see the post that we just made is populating here, and it's tagged as podcast. You can also see that this post is tagged as featured, and it is appearing in the most kind of like recent spot, this kind of like hero spot. So you can choose to add a category that is not linked here, is just inside the back end of WordPress, and you can choose to tag whatever post you want to be featured here. So one of the last things you'll want to do is actually link the categories that you come up with. And the way that you do that is go back to WordPress. You're going to go over to your categories, just like we added podcast, and let's say that you want to add, I'm just going to choose one from here, case studies. So you'll click on here, and you'll see that the slug is case-studies. It's always going to be a dash instead of a space if something is 2 words. So we'll click on, or we'll highlight this, we'll go back into Show It. Then we are going to go down to this category right here. So if we go to, we're going to click on our category. which is under this header here. And we're going to go to click actions, and this is going to be a URL. So all you have to enter here is /category /the slug. So you're going to copy and paste what we just got over from the category. So in this case, it is case-studies, and then you're going to add another /. And that is how you link the category. So you'll do that for each one of these. Now, if you make this the podcast, so say the first one is podcast, you want to actually link that to the podcast page as opposed to the podcast category. So you're going to go to page and then podcast, like that. And then for this one, you would do the / your next category. So if it was like weddings, actually you would do category / weddings. And there you go. So I know that we covered quite a bit in this video. I just want to do a little bit of a recap, starting with the show it side of the blog. So remember, you have your blog page as well as your podcast page. You're going to log into WordPress. You're going to go to pages, and you are going to add a page that is just called podcast. That's it. You hit publish. Then you are going to go through and add your categories. You can do that under post categories. You're going to add in podcast as a category and then pick 2 others. If you want to have the featured post section that is inside of your template, you also add a category called featured, and whatever post you want to display here, you will tag as featured. Then when you are making blog posts, you'll go up to new right here, or posts, add new. You'll create your blog post by putting in your title and your content. Then you will open up this Yoast plugin, which you've already installed, and go through the SEO analysis process. You'll go over here to post, add your category, add some tags, and then set your featured image, write your excerpt, and publish. If you want your post to appear on the podcast page, be sure to tag it as podcast. If you want it to just be a normal blog post, you can categorize it in any other category that you have set up. Remember to link your categories inside of Show It. Once you have them, you link them by going /category / the name of the category. If it's 2 words, there will be a dash in between the first and second word. You also want to remember to go up to your menu and your footer and change the podcast from linking to the demo page to the podcast page, and you will delete these demo pages that say delete this out of your template. The last thing I want to leave you with is how to get support. So obviously you can send us an email at hello@daydreamsites.com. We are absolutely happy to answer any questions that you may have. We also offer template customizations if that is something you are interested in. You also have access to Show It support in their library of help documents should you need just like a quick answer. You're always able to message someone. So down here, you can ask a live person question. Show It has really, really great customer support. You also can view their help docs, and this is great if you just want to look up something real quick. They have kind of like list style tutorials, and they also have a lot of really great videos. So whichever way that you learn best, they definitely have a resource for you. So thank you so much for purchasing this template. We are so excited for your website launch, and we can't thank you enough. Thanks for watching.